So the first gold medal of this year is officially secured. And I thought it would be interesting for you if I take you along and show you exactly how that happened. So the tournament I went to was hosted by Gladiatores Munich, and it used a rule set with a weighted target zone plus fully scored double hits with a relatively generous time window. Basically, you are allowed to finish the action in which the hit happens, so no follow-up strikes in a new tempo. The scoring system was 3 points for the head and neck, 2 points for the torso and the shoulders, 1 point for the rest of the body. What was special about this tournament is that the hit you landed doesn't matter, only the hits you received do. And instead of fencing to a set number of points, the fights were based only on the exchanges. There were 7 exchanges and there wasn't really a winner announced after that. For advancing into the eliminations, you simply had to be the one who got hit the least. So even if you win all your fights, that doesn't automatically mean you move on. That was definitely a different approach than what I was used to, but it didn't really change my fencing too much. What mattered way more for me were the weighted target zones and the fact that double hits were fully counted. That played right into my more upper body focused fencing style. What exactly I mean by that, you will find out in a moment. And to give everything more context, I will keep highlighting specific moments during the fights and explaining why I acted the way I did. First round, I mainly tried to stay at range and just check out my opponent first. How does she react, how fast is she, and where are the openings. That helps me figure out how hard I can commit into my attacks without having to worry about my opponent simply swinging into the action and hitting me mid-action. But I have to call myself out here. Sometimes I overdo it with the distance, and when that happens, my form starts to fall apart. You're going to see that a couple more times. Here I noticed right away that my opponent really likes to swing into my actions with an overhaul. The good thing was he was really committed into this overhauls. That gave me openings to fight my way back into the exchanges with a high thrust or simply parry post. In this kind of rule sets, you really can't just ignore the kind of behavior, because even if you land first hit every time, you do still up scoring worse overall, because the head counts 3 points and the hands are 1 point, so every time you double, you will end up losing those exchanges. By the way, this is a really good example for the Geiseln. You can see it clearly here, my opponent is bouncing back and forth a lot and keeps repeating the same pattern. And as soon as the distance is small enough, you can time the Geisel really well. The opponent basically hops into the strike and has no real chance of dodging it. Here you can see exactly what I meant with the weighted target areas, and why that played right into my hands. I could basically ignore a lot of attacks in preparation, because if my opponent ignored his defense and just tried to swing straight into my attack, I would still come out of the exchange with more points overall. And that means that I didn't have to worry that much about my lower openings. This is like the perfect example of what to do in a rule set like this against the Geisel. So basically, if you see someone starting the Geisel with one hand, just instantly go to the head. This is like the best way to prevent people even start with the Geisel, because they know in the moment they start the Geisel, they will get a hit to the head and they will lose the exchange. So to sum this up, here's what I can say overall. I actually found the system where only the hits you receive count and where fights are split up in exchanges to be a really interesting change. In the eliminations, those things got a bit confusing. One big issue for me was that you never really know how many exchanges were left. A lot of the strategic factors disappear. A fight could basically already be decided after 7 out of 9 exchanges, and you might not even realize it. And with the weighted target zones, it gets even trickier. If you only have 1 exchange left and you need 2 points to equalize the bout, but you only hit the arm instead and the torso would be underneath, you still lose, even though you technically landed the last hit. And that's like a little bit of a bitter ending. But for a round robin format, where everyone has to fence everyone, I think the system is absolutely excellent. And if this tournament sounds interesting to you, you definitely can check out Gladiatores Munich. It was a really well organized tournament and I genuinely had a great time there.